Hello, fellow gamers, and welcome to the Video Gamers Podcast. Few things can unite gamers like the collective hate towards a terrible launch, a bad sequel, or overpromising on a game. On this episode, we're going to be talking about some of the biggest blunders in gaming. But first, some introductions are in order. I am your host, Josh, and joining me, his biggest blunder was waiting so long to join the podcast and brighten the gaming world with his good looks and smooth impressions. It's Ryan.
I was like 90% sure until you said impressions that you were going to say John and then just roast me. That would have been so good. So thank you, buddy.
I was kind of hoping you didn't know what to do with like a nice intro, man. You know?
I kind of don't.
Yeah, where you're like waiting is like, okay, where is the insult?
You saw where my mind went to immediately.
That's
so.
true. That's true. All right, don't worry, because joining us, his biggest blunder was defending Nintendo, saying he didn't like God of War that much, thinks the gameplay in Elden Ring was okay, but we love him anyway for being a big goofy nerd and a heck of a kind-hearted person. It's John.
That seems to be the general consensus, is that people like you guys and tolerate me. And by the way, Ryan, as soon as Josh said that this is the good-looking one or whatever, I'm like, no, that's got to be Ryan. Ryan is the cute dumb one on the show.
Yeah, you're like the golden retriever, Ryan.
Thank you. Yeah, Ryan's the Joey in our Friends cast.
Ryan's like, I'll take that.
I'll take it.
It's a good place to be, buddy. Trust me.
How you doing?
I just don't want to be Ross, guys. Okay. Oh. So yeah.
I'm probably Ross.
You're a Phoebe.
Tolerated.
Yeah. Hey, you're winning people over, John. Slowly but surely, man.
No, I am not. People are saying I hate him less now.
Well, that's a progress.
People are saying I'm going to stop actively chopping this man down. That's what I get.
It's sympathy,
Baby
one
steps.
way or another.
Exactly. I'll take it. I have big shoes to fill. I'll take it.
Oh my goodness, guys. Okay. So I am super excited for this episode, number one. I mean, listen, as gamers, and especially OG gamers, let's be honest, we've been around a while. We have experienced some of the worst when it comes to video games. I mean, ask a gamer. I want everybody that's listening right now to think of the biggest gaming blunder off the top of your head, whether it was a failure of a release, a game that was overpromised and underdelivered or something like that, right? Boom. Every single gamer in the world just thought of something.
Yeah, instantly goes to their head.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like everybody can relate to this, man. And I love it because it's like we're going to talk about some of the greatest blunders in gaming history. And we're going to try to talk about a few that maybe people forgot about or that just touch us, a little bit more through our own experiences or something like that. So I mean, let's just get into it, boys, because this is a weird one because this is going to be like a nostalgia rage episode where it's like, I remember that. Dang it. Like, why are people so stupid?
I think there's going to be silver lining at the end of this.
There's a few. There are a few, which makes me kind of happy. But man, some of these are just disastrous at the same time, too. So let's just kick it off, boys. I'm gonna start us off with perhaps the greatest blunder in the history of gaming. I don't know that this is the studio's fault necessarily, but it's funny because I remember watching them go on, I think it was like David Letterman or some talk show, to Jimmy Kimmel or something like that, Conan O'Brien, to talk about this game that they were developing. And it's like, dude, if you got invited on a talk show to talk about the game you're developing as an indie studio, like, the world is going to think this is the greatest game that ever existed. And the problem is they got caught up in that hype and they started going like, this is going to be the greatest game the world has ever seen. It's got technology that nobody's ever seen. You are going to be able to explore 18 bajillion planets. Nobody's going to see the same planet. We're talking about No Man's Sky. Oh, yeah. Oh, my heart, man. So, now, this is the thing for you youngsters out there that go, dude, I've been playing No Man's Sky. That game's fantastic. What are you talking about? Oh, boy. Ryan, why don't you take them back? You were there. You bought the game on release.
I did. I bought the game on release day. It took me 4 Best Buy stops to find one that had it. I'm so happy I spent all that time driving around the valley to get that game. I get it. I'm beyond stoked. I am in the hype. I'm ready to explore these vast depth of worlds and all the amazing things that I was told I would see. I booted up. And I think I found a frog in like 6 hours of gameplay. I was just so annoyed at like, what is this game? I didn't even understand. Like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Like, I was having so many issues. It was just one of the most frustrating launches, aside from another game we're going to talk about a little bit later, that I've ever experienced.
John, did you ever play No Man's Sky?
I didn't. And here's why. Like, I am the exact product of why this kind of thing is a problem. I've talked about this a lot with The Last of Us 2, but my time, especially in the time that we're talking about that most of these games were released, I had very limited free time. And so if I got wind that the reception around a game was overwhelmingly negative, it lost me immediately. Yep. And this was certainly, I remember I had a ton of hype for this game coming out. I'm like, oh my gosh, like every person's experience with this game is completely unique on a unique world. Like, whoa, what a cool, ambitious idea. But categorically, it was not executed well. People hated it. And I never even got a minute into this game.
I'm the same way. I did not play this game at launch. My buddy Andy actually picked it up day one. And then we were so excited. I remember being so jealous because like you, Ryan, it was really hard to get a copy. And then I remember talking to him and he was just like, dude, what am I supposed to do? Like, I've been to like 4 planets. I've seen like one creature. Like, I scanned it, and now what? Like, the game had no structure was the problem. It was just this open, cool, you made this procedural generation, but there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
So, historically, the backlash that what's the name of that studio, man? Dang it. Hey, it's not Hazelight. Why don't you look up the name of the studio? I'm drawing a blank. But the issue is that they took so much heat from overpromising this game. I don't know how they didn't just collapse and like just go into hiding. To literally just as a studio say, we're done, we're going to go and run and hide and just disappear, and we're sorry, everybody. But to their credit,
Hello Games,
there it is. Hello Games. To their credit, they have been working on this for the last decade, to the point now where as gamers, we have gone, dude, No Man's Sky is great. Yeah. Stop. Stop with the No Man's Sky updates. Give us Light No Fire at this point, man. That's all we want. So it is a successful turnaround story, but man, sometimes gamers just don't forgive and they don't forget. And No Man's Sky might be the most disastrous blunder that the gaming world has ever seen.
That was me, man. I had a couple buddies that hit me up, maybe a year or two ago. They was like, dude, you guys got to check out No Man's Sky. It's awesome. I'm like, no. I've heard that one before. You're not getting me again. and I lost that interest to try it. And so I wonder how many people, are like me that were like, I got burned. I'm not doing it,
Well, again, there's so many amazing experiences out there that like, it's a cliche, but you really only get one opportunity to make a great first impression. And when you are not hurting for choice, which none of us are, you lose people. That's just the way it works.
I will say I have to give them credit through years and years and years of hard work. No Man's Sky is an incredible game now. I mean, they have turned this thing well beyond what I think their initial vision of it was and really turned it into something special. So kudos to them. I can't wait to see what they do with Light No Fire. That is one of my most anticipated games. I don't think it's coming out this year, so we haven't even really talked about it much, but that game's going to leap to the forefront of like ultra hype for me when they finally actually announce it. Cause I feel like they've learned everything they needed to learn to make a really, really good game.
We hope
their next one. Yeah. Can you imagine if they did it again? Oh my gosh. Man. That just makes me feel so awkward. I'm not even going to think about that. So Ryan, what's one for you, man? Absolutely colossal gaming blunder that comes to mind for you.
Well, oh man, have you ever wanted to like play probably one of the best games ever made? One
Yes.
that draws you in, is engaging, enticing, a beautiful world, something
sounds
that
amazing.
you've really never seen before.
Yeah, I love that.
Man, but what if it just didn't work? What if it
What?
just like was full of bugs and issues and errors and clipping and like
Oh.
everything you could imagine that would happen in a game that just is dog poop at
But
launch?
this would be like an indie studio that's trying to create their first game, right? And doesn't know any better, right?
No, it's a very, very well-renowned, world-class studio that spent a lot of time and a lot of money on
That
development.
also made one of the greatest games ever.
You better believe it, brother. We're going with Cyberpunk 2077. What the heck, man?
Guys, I have said this before. Cyberpunk 2077 was the most hyped I have ever been for a video game, dude.
Yeah.
Ever. It was unhealthy, man. I took off of, I think instead of like the one day off of work, I was asking for like a week off of work. It kept getting delayed. It got delayed. We got the most amazing 45-minute demo. I remember absolutely losing my mind when they finally showcased Cyberpunk 2077, and it looked like the greatest thing the gaming world has ever seen. And then delay after delay after delay, I'm getting angry. I'm mad at them. Freaking CD Projekt Red, like, come on, man. And it finally releases. And I didn't sleep the night before. I'm a kid at Christmas. I mean, my wife was making fun of me. And I load up Cyberpunk 2077, and it's just T-posing, cars crashing into each other, glitching through walls, broken quests, police just popping up behind you out of nowhere. I mean, this was one of the most disastrous launches of a game that I can think of, dude. And it was all just bugs, dude. It wasn't that the game itself wasn't there. Like No Man's Sky, it's different. The game just didn't exist. Like No Man's Sky released something and everybody's like, this isn't the game.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk, you got the game. It was just the worst buggy, glitchy, broken mess that anybody had ever seen.
Just didn't work.
Yeah, see, this is another game where the bad publicity made me miss it, even though this is right up my alley. Like that future cyberpunk aesthetic or whatever. By the way, have you guys seen the new Tron trailer? Oh, it looks so good.
Oh,
Looks
no.
so good.
I love all things Cyberpunk, man.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it. But terrible reception. And I would say that this is probably in everybody's like top 5 consensus worst, most disappointing launches. But we've talked about this in times in the past, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me saying that it actually wasn't as broken as people are complaining about it to be.
I don't know what they're playing.
Well,
And they also say that you guys are dumb, specifically.
okay, that's true. But also, so the main thing is
Checks
that
out.
so on PC, because I played it on PC with a beefy PC, and I did run into a lot of bugs, but none of them were necessarily game breaking for me. The biggest problem with the Cyberpunk launch was the consoles, dude, because like if you remember, PlayStation took it off the PlayStation Store. It ran so poorly on the PS4 at the most dumbed down resolution imaginable, to where it's like the characters didn't even have faces at this point. And it still didn't run. And that's when that's when Sony went, dude, like, we're not selling this, man. Like, that's real bad, like real bad. So yes, it was very broken on PC, and for a lot of PC gamers, it didn't work at all. It was almost unplayable, but it was, man, the console people, the console crowd with that were the ones that really got hosed, man. And I thankfully I wasn't part of that crowd, but my goodness, if I was, I would have. Oh man.
Rage flow. Yeah, I had a good bit of issues, and I stopped playing, and I hadn't played it for a while until, I joined the pod and was with you guys, and you and Paul were like, dude, you got to play it. You got to check it out. Give it another shot. And I'm like, all right. It's one of my favorite games ever now. Like, it's just so good.
Did you ever go back, John?
Nope. It's in my backlog, just like Red Dead.
John's totally corpo, for sure.
Well, I mean, so he's like, wait a minute, what does that mean? So it's funny. I've literally played
Say
Cyberpunk.
less. I get it.
Yeah. Cyberpunk is one of the few games that I have played all the way through. And then after, I played it at release because I was just determined, no matter how frustrated I was like, nah, I've been looking for this. I'm going to play this game. And then I did go back about a year and a half later when everything had been patched and fixed and all that. Bro, Cyberpunk 2077 in its current state is a top 10 game of all time for me. Like, legitimately, it is that good. Like, I put it up there with Witcher 3, Red Dead 2, God of War, Elden Ring, and Cyberpunk. Like, it's legitimately that good now, in my opinion. So,
plus it's got our boy Jackie Wells.
yeah, it's got Jackie Wells, it's got V, it's got Johnny Silverhand, freaking Keanu Reeves. Like, yeah, man.
What's the not like?
Exactly. So, all right, John, what about you? You got one that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, in keeping with this same thing of a studio that's produced a heck of a lot of huge generational games, and then honestly taking a beloved franchise and nosediving with it is Fallout 76. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. I have some kind of reaction to that.
This is a tough one. Again, like when you have like a formula and a property that has historically worked so well and then do so poorly with it, it is notably bad. You know, people have the expectation that like, look, you have all the fundamental parts to make this at least a decent game. Why is this one so broken? And this is one that, again, it was like dead on arrival, basically. There were technical issues when it came out. There was huge server crash issues, glitches. The marketing was terrible on it. The storyline was super passive. There was an overemphasis on PvP elements. You know, they basically like took the Fallout universe and then delivered a game that had everything that people didn't want in a Fallout game. and again, you know, this is a game that I'll be honest, like this sort of open world type first person action game isn't normally my cup of tea anyways, but I've been looking for a great entry into the Fallout universe, and they really shot themselves in the foot. You know, I think they lost a lot of ground with this one.
Dude, I remember watching Todd Howard talk about how we were finally getting multiplayer Fallout. And that sounded like the most amazing game ever, you know? And then they started showing this world that it was going to take place in, and you could play with all of your friends. And it was this living world. They were going to keep developing it. It was almost like a Fallout MMO. And it was like they just kept hyping it. And I was buying into the hype. And I remember I was there at launch, jumping in with Paul and Todd, and I think another buddy of ours, because it was like, dude, let's do it. And then we started playing, and it was just like, there were no NPCs at the time. Like, how do you not have NPCs in a Fallout game, man? Like, legitimately, there were no NPCs. Like, it had PvP, but it was only if you elected to do PvP. So it was kind of like, well, this isn't dangerous at all. There was zero content available at launch. And then the most dumb, stupid thing that anybody's ever seen, and I mean, this just kind of goes to show how much they botched it. If you bought the collector's edition of Fallout 76, which so many people did, because it's Bethesda, guys. Yep. It's multiplayer Fallout. You know,
and
this
there are
is the
die-hard fans.
Yes.
Absolutely. You're catering to the die-hard fans with those.
So these people were promised this super cool, like, canvas bag that was going to be like Fallout. It was, dude, these bags showed up and they were made out of like vinyl. They were the like cheapest bags like in the world. And people were like, this isn't canvas. Like, this is like a bag from Walmart. Like, what is this, man? And then they had to come out and be like, oops, sorry, guys. There was a little bit of a mix up, and this was the most disastrous thing ever. And listen, you know, No Man's Sky redeemed themselves. Cyberpunk redeemed themselves. Fallout 76, I have talked to a couple people that are like, oh, it's way better now. But nobody says it's great.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and so like, this is just one where it's like, I kind of lost faith in Bethesda at that point, you know, and we're probably not even going to talk about Starfield because I don't know that Starfield is considered a blunder, but it's just like, Bethesda, what are you doing, man? Like, how do you do this to your people? How do you promise it like this? Like, Todd Howard, you're a charismatic dude. I can't help it like you. But gosh darn it if I'm not still mad at you for just bold-faced lying to me.
These are lies. Part of the thing, too, is, I mean, it was like 3 years or so after Fallout 4, which was so good. And the cool thing with these Bethesda games and you know, Fallouts as well is just the depth of the world where there's so much stuff. Everywhere you go, you look and there's like a book and there's like a whole story in the book. and there's all this lore everywhere. There's weird stories of like a father and their child and whatever, just everything everywhere where you can get sucked in. And to launch a game so empty that there's not even NPCs, which is such a big part of the Bethesda games, not to have it is wild.
Yeah, Fallout in particular, the charm of the game is the world building. Yeah,
exactly. It's wild to me. It's a bummer. I kind of fell into this with Elder Scrolls Online too. I was a Skyrim junkie. I got into the beta tests and stuff for Elder Scrolls Online, and it just didn't hit the same way. And, so I was a little gun shy on Fallout 76. So, man, it's just wild how that launched.
That was a disaster, man. Disaster. Yeah. Boys, sit back and let me tell you a story.
I'm ready for this one.
Sit back and just let me tell you a story of one of my favorite games of all time. You guys know me. I'm competitive. I like learning characters. I love hero shooters. Love hero shooters. Well, some hero shooters, I should say. And along comes Overwatch. My friend group at the time, everybody was insanely excited. Overwatch became the staple for us for like years, dude. I mean, we played Overwatch every single night with a group of friends. It was the most wonderful gaming time. It was just like, when you think back about your happy gaming moments, right? Like Overwatch and playing with friends is just one of those things that's like I look back on fondly. And then Blizzard says, guys, we're making Overwatch 2. And I went, yes! Oh my gosh, we're getting another Overwatch! And they start doing the PR stuff where they're like, we have spent years working on sound design and character development. And I'm just thinking this is going to be the most amazing thing I've ever seen. We're going to keep all the old characters. They're all going to be spiffed up. The game's going to sound better. It's going to look better. We're going to get new heroes, new maps, new modes. Overwatch 2, baby! Yes!
So what happened, Josh?
Well, and then one day, old Daddy Jeff, if you remember Jeff, the liaison to the community, everybody loved Jeff. Jeff says, hey guys, I'm leaving Blizzard. I've had a good run. I'm out. And everybody went, oh man. All right, Jeff, we love you. See ya. And then it was like a couple weeks later, man, where they get on and they say, okay, guys, listen up. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to sunset Overwatch. Okay. Overwatch 2 is replacing Overwatch. Okay, now don't worry. It's going to be free to play, but also we're going to just kind of scrap everything that you paid for in Overwatch. And then, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to walk back everything. We're going to just try to monetize this game to no end. We're going to ruin game balance. We're going to only put out one character a year. Overwatch 2 was honestly one of the biggest scams in gaming to me, because it's like you took away a product that people paid for and you replaced it with another product that was vastly inferior and was not what people asked for. And you gave people no choice whatsoever. Overwatch, it's not like you can't go Overwatch 2, not for me. I'm going to go play Overwatch. It's like, no, dude, that's gone. You don't get a choice. You can only play Overwatch 2 now. And then you go, yeah, but I don't like this, man. This is garbage. And then they went, sorry.
Too bad.
Too bad. And I'm not saying I didn't play Overwatch 2. I played the heck out of Overwatch 2 because what other choice did I have?
Well, Josh, you say that, but now there is a choice.
I know.
And
yes.
and I'm going to ask you a question here. So that choice, I'm sure everyone can assume, is that it's Marvel Rivals.
Yes.
Came on gangbusters, doing really, really well. Josh, how many people do you think are playing Marvel Rivals right now?
Ooh, I'm going to say 400,000.
Oh, geez, you're way over.
Way over?
It's 200K.
Yeah, it's 111 right now. 111,000 right now. Yeah, good job.
On 5 o'clock on a Thursday. Yeah.
And it's 79.15%. What do you think Overwatch 2 is right now?
Oh, 30,000.
22,000.
Wow.
With a review score of 24.39.
24.
Wow.
You can't do that to people, dude. You can't do that. Like,
and this is Blizzard, dude. This is Blizzard, man.
Is that 22% like approval rating rage?
Yes.
Like, is that rage reviewing?
But it's rightful rage in this case. Like, this isn't like, oh, I don't like the writing, or I didn't like the way they cast this character, or some political view or societal view or something like that, where people are like, I'm making a stand. This is 100%. You took Overwatch away from me. You ruined this game. You promised me all of these things that never came about. they stopped, they slowed the development on Overwatch 2 when they started realizing like, guys, this is starting to fall off. We're not putting anything into it. My daughter absolutely loves Overwatch 2. She plays it every single day. Like every single day. I've tried to get her into Rivals and she's like, I love this game. I'm just going to keep playing it. And I'm like, I'm glad you're happy. You know what I mean? But this is just one of those things where if you knew what Blizzard did to its gamer base, like, man, like this is just not cool, man. Not cool, Blizzard. Just not cool.
And they're so, Blizzard is like, you're like Blizzard, like that, they're beloved, for years with Diablo and Warcraft and then WoW and, all just their cinematics, like gave them so much credit. Their street cred was off the charts just from their cinematics, and the games were amazing.
Some of the best cinematics ever in gaming.
Absolutely, every time you'd watch like the intro on WoW or other clips on Diablo, like you get goosebumps every time. And man, this is like that. What a fall, fall from glory.
The thing that bugs me too, this was kind of the point I was going to make on my daughter, and then I got sidetracked, is like, Rivals comes out, Overwatch 2, Blizzard, one character a year, one new map, recolored skins, like the laziest development you've ever seen for a game that I'm sure was bringing in tons of money for them. Marvel Rivals releases. All of a sudden, guess what Overwatch 2 starts doing? Oh, guys, we've got a new game mode. We're going to release a new hero every other month. We're going to have a new map once a month. And then it's like, so you were just being lazy? Like, you didn't have competition, so you didn't care. The second Rivals comes out and starts stealing your player base, you go like, oh, don't worry, guys. Like, we've got all these plans for Overwatch 2 now. Look how great this is. And why weren't you doing that before? Like, what the freaking Blizzard, man?
Oh. Yeah, this kind of thing is unfortunately so common in the way companies behave. I think we as outsiders, and by the way, I'm usually the corporate sympathizer in these situations, but usually as outsiders, we go, man, why didn't the company see this coming? Well, companies don't want to change. Companies are full of people that don't want to change, and they don't pivot unless they absolutely, just like people, they typically don't change their behaviors until they're on the precipice, like they're about ready to fall off that cliff, and then it may be too little too late. This, I'm trying, honestly, I want to argue with you guys so bad on this,
yes,
but I can't come up with the angle. I'm a pragmatist, and I believe in meritocracies. If I were Blizzard, I would have let both Overwatch and Overwatch 2 live at the same time, and you live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah.
Your second product isn't performing as well as your first product, let people keep enjoying your product.
Right.
Let people and then work to improve the second one so that you're encouraging them to move from one platform to the other rather than sort of punishing them for liking the old one.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. I need to calm down just a little bit. I'm going to breathe during this break, and then we'll be right back to just get me all heated once again. Man, I don't want to keep going, guys. This is just depressing me, man. Like, what the heck?
There are games that still need to be talked about on this list.
Oh, we got a lot.
People must be held accountable by us podcasters.
This is what we do for you listeners. This is the pain we go through.
I got all tilted. Is it Ryan's turn? Is it your turn, Ryan? I think it is.
I think it is, yeah.
Oh, yes, right, yes. Okay. So, there's a lot of games that, how do I word this? Basically, everyone has their game type, their game style, what they really enjoy, to play. Josh, you're a big shooter guy.
I am.
He loves shooting games in general. How did you feel about a little release that was going to be quite big called Anthem?
Oh my gosh, dude. Why do you do this to me, dude? Anthem looked so incredible. You got to be Iron Man. You got to fly around this incredible world with your friends and just shoot monsters and get loot. And this game was made for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was everything you wished it could be. You are what you were wishing it was everything you wish it could be, and everything that you wanted. But as someone who was so anticipated for it, Josh, can you enlighten me on what happened?
Oh my gosh, dude. I listen, I've said many times, I think Anthem is the most fun game that you can play for 8 hours, dude. Like when we got into Anthem, we were in awe. I mean, we had our different suits. You know, I had an instant squad. I was playing with friends every single time. We're hopping in, we're flying around the world. Oh my goodness, dude. It was peak. It was absolute peak gameplay. You shoot down to the water to cool off your jets because you're skimming along the water and it's like, yeah, I can just keep going forever. You know, I mean, it was absolutely exhilarating. And then you got into like the other parts of the game where it was like, hey, you know, all of these different parts of the city are fragmented. So it's loading screen and then it's like loading screen. And then it's like, guys, this is a weird design decision. Like I have to load into this one area to go to the area where my suit is. But then I have to walk up to my suit to say I want to get in my suit, and then it loads again. And then once that loads, now you're in the screen where you want to set your loadout and everything and kind of gear out for whatever mission you're going to do. And then you say, hey, okay, cool, I'm ready. And then it loads another screen, you know, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm finally ready to launch and take off. And then it's like, okay, hold on, we're going to load you into like the dock area so you can launch.
3 days later.
Yeah. and then it just got to be after 8 hours.
My bowels hurt with this.
No, dude, it was so bad, dude. So after 8 incredible hours worth of gameplay, it was like you just hit the wall where you realize they have not developed this game enough. Like there's no end game. There's no like carrot to dangle in front of people that has some like semblance of fun. You know, and that is when gamers realize, because the initial impression with Anthem was fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
I'd go play Anthem again in a heartbeat, dude. Like a heartbeat. Except you just, it's like, you know, imagine if you go to a steakhouse, right? And you get the most perfect filet, dude. And you cut into it and you're like, dude, this thing is spoon tender. It's the juiciest filet. It was grilled perfectly. You get 2 bites in, and then the waiter comes by and snatches the plate off your table. And he's like, "That's all we got for you, buddy.
That's all for now."
Yeah, you're gonna be ticked. That's exactly what happened with Anthem, man.
Especially with like, you know, they promised you like a nice 12-ounce steak. You know, I think a lot of these issues is a lot of these devs overpromise. They overpromise features. What's going to be in the game, how the depth of the game, you know. And then when you overpromise and underdeliver, no matter how good it is, people are always going to be let down.
I felt so gypped out of that experience, dude.
Yeah, so this is where Business John can kick in, right? So this is the stuff that drives me nuts. And Ryan, you hit the nail on the head. It's the overpromise, underdeliver concept. It is so hard for me to understand how big studios like this, through play testing and honestly just through peer review. Like if I'm developing some new content, I would be having like people that were adjacent to my industry or dude, honestly, maybe even competitors looking at the stuff and going like, guys, we're putting a lot of money into this thing. Does this stink? Like, are people going to like this? The fact that this like makes it through to launch this maligned, I don't understand it. It's like sales 101, guys. Like, be realistic about your product, deliver realistic expectations, and then over-deliver if at all possible. And you know what? If you have a project that needs to be taken outside behind the barn and shot, do it. Yeah. Cut your losses, move on to something better. You know, I'm sure we're talking many millions of dollars here, but you know.
So let me ask you, John, is there a world from a business sense, right? Because Anthem had the hype, dude. It had the gamers' attention. This was going to be the next greatest game that people had ever experienced. And for a very short time, it kind of was, man. You know, like it legitimately kind of was. But, you know, so the question is, if you overpromise and underdeliver, is there a world where you go, yeah, but I mean, we got their money, dude. I mean, we sold 4 million copies of this. Like, people may hate us now, but we made our money.
Here's what I can tell you is that most businesses, despite what you see on the internet, you know, in public records, operate on a much slimmer profit and loss statement than you would expect. Games like this, big games like this, rely on long-term success to be able to make their money back. They may have offset their production budget. It is unlikely, given how bad this flopped, that they really, I don't want to be quoted saying this because again, I really don't have any none of us have transparency as far as like how this game actually performed. But what I can tell you is that when you're releasing a big hyped title like this, they're relying on a great initial launch and then some momentum to carry it over. It's called, having legs. They're counting on the legs. The profit is in the legs. The profit is in the follow-up. And if you have a game that has very high expectations, the bigger you are, the harder you fall. And I have to imagine that this really hurt him. I am never going to be in the camp that corporations, regardless of what you feel about them, are like, well, we got their money. Screw those guys. I don't know if I can say that. We got their money. We don't care about the customers. Ultimately, I think even if it's specifically for money, companies definitely care about their customers. They definitely count on the long-term satisfaction of their customers. Even if it's only a function of their money, they have to take into account that the customer's impression of their company ultimately translates to dollars. So I think that what we're talking about this is just a big human oversight that I still don't quite understand. I would love to get some clarity on it. How a game like this that had such high expectations and honestly had every tool set up to make it succeed falls on its face like this.
Well, it sold 2 million in the first week.
Yeah, that's a lot, dude.
That's a lot of sales in the first week.
I mean, Expedition 33, the internet world is still abuzz about Expedition 33. And it's been 33 days and they sold 3.3 million copies. But that's it over the course of a month. And that's with every gamer in the world asking their gamer friend, like, hey, dude, have you played Expedition 33? This is one of the best games I've played in a really long time. 2 million copies in a week? Yeah. Like, that's crazy, dude. That just shows you the hype that Anthem came with. So... all right, John, I know you got one that's near and dear to you. This is a game we actually did a deep dive on, and when you brought this up, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say initially that I was really, really tempted to want to talk about Baldur's Gate 3 here.
As a blunder?
As a blunder, because I had such a...
They hate him again.
John,
no. Hear me out, because I want to bring this full circle, because this leads directly into the title we're going to talk about. Baldur's Gate 3, the problem that I had with it is that it does a lot of things right. The combat system, it's one of the most versatile games you can play. They really nailed a lot of it. The storytelling just was not my cup of tea. I think that they could have done a lot less with the exposition and a lot more of show me, a lot more cinematically. It plays very much like D&D, except like when you're playing D&D with friends, like you have the friends around you to make it entertaining and it's imaginary and, there's a lot of benefit to that. And so Baldur's Gate lost me a bit. The game that we are going to talk about here is Final Fantasy XVI, which is Final Fantasy. If I had to say what my favorite game franchise of all time is, it would be Final Fantasy. I have deeper emotions with that franchise than any other franchise, and it was only recently beaten out by Expedition 33, which so far is just one game. I love that game, but when I think about my fondest gaming memories, it's Final Fantasy. They do such a great job generally of blending in darker moments of their storytelling, usually some sort of great spin on, a blend of turn-based fighting and then more real-time fighting. And then there's like 12, which had this cool gambit system. And, they're quite innovative. 16 felt like the most diluted derivative game I've played in so long. Like it was so clearly mimicking the things that were popular at the time of its release, and it just executed so poorly on. Like I don't think I've been, frankly, so bored playing a video game. Like it would be one thing if it was just like bad. The fact that it was just so unremarkable to me makes it one of the biggest blunders for me, man.
Dude, we did a deep dive on Final Fantasy 16, and I think that was before you, Ryan, wasn't it?
No,
that was right in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
That was right in the beginning.
I was
for Ryan.
questioning if I wanted to continue doing this anymore.
That's right. I forgot. And I mean, listen, Final Fantasy 16 to me is fine. It's an okay game. I don't have like I grew up playing the early Final Fantasy games like Final Fantasy 1 through 7. And then in all honesty, I just kind of fell off the series. I could not tell you what Final Fantasy 10, 11, 12, 12X and some of these are. But then lo and behold, Final Fantasy 16 comes out and it looks incredible. It definitely starts giving me hey, they've moved to this action combat system that looks neat. These icon fights look absolutely incredible. And then we played the game and I was bored most of the time, dude. The combat was very routine, very uninspired, very long. Like I remember
unnecessarily long.
Yeah,
Every stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. Every captain that you would fight that would land and fight, I'm like, dude, this is 10 minutes of wailing on this guy. He's not hard to kill. I just got to sit there and fight him for 10 minutes. So.
Right. It would be one thing if there was like some engaging, interesting way that you're like tackling this guy, like in Elden Ring, for instance, like the pattern changes up and you have to like figure out how to beat this guy over a period of time. Final Fantasy, it was like, dude, I know how to beat this guy 30 seconds into this fight, but this fight is taking 5 minutes for some reason.
Yeah, I agree. That it didn't land for me. I don't have your love of Final Fantasy to kind of feel as strongly as you do, but I can say that was not a huge fan of Final Fantasy 16. All right, we're going to have to speed up a little bit here, boys, because we still have a lot to get through. But a game that I know Ryan and I are huge fans of. Oh, man. Everybody's like, Josh, I can't believe you, like, I've recently played my first Call of Duty. It was Cold War, man. That was, 3 years ago? But there's a reason I was never a Call of Duty dude, because I was busy playing the far superior franchise that's called Battlefield.
Ooh.
I want to hop in a helicopter. I want to take this jet. I want to take my squad and outsmart this other squad and cap these points and, all the things that Battlefield offered you. Battlefield 2 is one of my favorite games ever. I can't tell you how much time I put into that game. So when Battlefield 2042 was announced, and we got one of the most epic trailers for a game that I think I've ever seen, where they said, guys, this is a love letter to the fans. And they're showing the dude jumping out of the jet, shooting the other jet down with a rocket. And they're showing all these moments from like Battlefield lore and gaming history that were clips and stuff like that. Like, it's a love letter. It's going to be the greatest Battlefield ever. Oh, Ryan's shaking his head. Why, Ryan? Why?
Oh, gosh. Just because even thinking on the day I launched it and booted it up, and I was in whatever that desert level was, and I was just so annoyed that I was playing this game and it was the way it was, and I'm like, where is everything? Where is everyone? And I'm like, wait, what is this building here? And this is like, and it was not Battlefield. That's the pure emotion, was just so much frustration is what I felt.
It just simply wasn't Battlefield, dude.
Yeah, it just wasn't.
It didn't have all of the, like, this is why this is a blunder, like one of the biggest blunders in my opinion, because, there's chatter about Battlefield 6 going on right now and how we're involving you, the gamer, into the process so that we don't make the same mistake. And it's like, guys, you don't know what Battlefield is anymore, and because here's the problem. Battlefield always had the class system. You had guns that were individual to your classes. If you had a buddy that was a freaking amazing medic, that guy would help carry your squad. If you had an engineer that knew how to take out that tank that was freaking wrecking your squad behind cover, like, your engineer buddy could be like, I got this, guys. I got this. Battlefield 2042 stripped everything away from the series that made the series unique. And it just was like, what is this garbage, dude? Not only that, but it was buggy as anything on release, to where like even hit registration was terrible. So it's like, I'm lighting some dude up and he's not dying because the game code didn't know that I was shooting him. It's just, oh, what a mess, dude. What a mess. I'm still ticked. Battlefield 6, I hate to admit that I'm curious, but at the same time, it's like, I am not buying Battlefield 6 until it comes out and every Battlefield OG is like, guys, we're back. We're back. And then I'll be like, yeah, I'll believe it. Okay, maybe, let's see. But no, man, Battlefield 2042, it still makes me mad, dude.
Did you play any of the Battlefields, John?
I played several of the Battlefields. I personally like Call of Duty more.
I
fair.
get that though. Like, there's no shade to like the Battlefield versus Call of Duty kind of thing. And I get it. It's Call of Duty is much more tight. It's much more refined. It's smaller. You know,
Counter-Strike
modes-
like.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I didn't play 2042.
Yeah. Well, good for you.
Neither did we.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, unlike you guys, I've got a bad game sensor and I just stay away from them.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, let's guys, I think this is one we can all talk about, but my goodness.
Oh yes. Oh this. So I it's hard to put into words like how bad of a launch you have when let's just say this on Steam launch day. Lord of the Rings Golem beats you.
Don't say that. No.
That's that. I was doing a little deeper
You're
digging into this.
underselling Lord of the Rings here, guy.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
It's a very strong property.
That had 758 players there. Concord, 697.
Dude,
How much more? Is
that's
there?
basically the development team and their wives and their children
Yeah.
that are
Pretty
playing
much.
this game.
How do you not break 700 players on Steam
Dude.
for launch day? Like,
Concord, I played Concord.
Yeah.
I'm a hero shooter guy. If
Yep.
you remember, I was excited, dude. I'm like, oh, a Sony made hero shooter? Like, yes, I was ticked at Overwatch 2 at this point. You know, this is like, what better timing could you possibly have? This is before Rivals. So
Yep.
it's like, you have the most perfect launch window ever. And then I remember playing the beta and I just went, guys, this game is not good. It's slow.
what?
These characters are weird. Like, the movement doesn't feel very good. Like, I mean, there were just so many issues in the beta. And then I remember kind of being a little put off. And then it finally officially launches. And nobody
played it.
Nobody played Concord, dude, for good reason. Like, it was the most
Including me.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, again, good for you, John, because you did not miss out on a thing, dude. This was the most uninspired, unfun hero shooter that I think has ever been made. Is there is actually, I was going to say, is there ever an example of a studio pulling a game 2 weeks after launch? Concord and Crucible. If like, that's a throwback, but if you guys out there remember, Amazon Games was going to make video games all of a sudden with the, you know, Amazon's infinite budget. These are going to be the best games people have ever seen. They released this game called Crucible that was a 6v6 hero shooter kind of thing. And it was an absolute disaster. So apparently don't name your games 2-syllable words that start with C. Is Crucible. Is that
No,
3
that's 3.
syllables?
Yeah,
Is Crucible?
It is, Josh,
Crucible.
it's 3.
Yeah,
That
that's
is 3.
3.
Well,
And you said
all right.
I was the dumb one.
Don't name it a
We're
game that
all
starts
the
with
dumb
C.
one.
There you go.
Dude, they only sold for PlayStation and PC around 25,000 copies.
That's ridiculous. Do you know how much
estimated.
money that they lost? I mean, millions of
What
dollars,
happened is
dude.
they devs were just like they sit here over on the side and they're like, oh, that Overwatch and those hero games are making a lot of money. I think people like them. Let's make one real quick. And they just scrambled a bunch of
That's
stuff
part of the
together.
problem,
Yep,
dude.
that's
That's
exactly-
honestly part of the problem.
Exactly. That's where Final Fantasy 16 failed, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. They go, oh, that type of game seems to be doing. Let's just kind of do that thing.
All right, John. What's this next one? We kind of had a little chat about this one because you're like, is this a blunder yet? And I kinda went, maybe.
yeah, this is very timely to talk about this, and we've touched base on it a little bit, but I would say that right now it is unfavorably positioned for launch, and that's this game Marathon that Bungie's putting out. And I'm
Wait.
saying this.
Bungie's making a game?
Well, yes, they are. You probably have only read
This
the
is
bad things about it.
This has got to be like, I mean, the next greatest game since Halo. This is Bungie we're talking about.
Oh, of course. The makers
Okay.
of Destiny 2.
We are at odds about how the game looks. I think it looks really cool. This type of shooter is not my type of game, but I think it looks really cool. I think that if you are into this extraction shooter format, I don't know. I think based on, if you were to remove this controversy, I think that there's still a darn good chance that Bungie were able to pull
So
this
it
off.
looks
I have
really
faith in
good. They
Bungie.
must have amazing artists then.
Look, again,
That was a good one. Oh, I gotta write that
Again.
down. That was a good one.
Look, companies are made up of people, and sometimes people do dumb things.
That's
but
very
I don't
true.
necessarily think, as long as the company is doing the appropriate things to restore faith in the gaming community and fix whatever their employee did wrong. The person who did this artwork, as far as I know, wasn't an officer of the company. I don't believe that they are an executive of the company. I believe they were an operator within the company, did something stupid. Marathon, or I should say, Bungie is getting held, their feet are being held to the fire for it in the news because Bungie is a much bigger name than X artist or whatever, artist stealer or whatever. This is really unfortunate. As far as I've read, Bungie's doing all the right things to try and fix it. I'm sure this is going to go to litigation because there's probably lawyers that have their hands in this on the plaintiff's side at this point and all of the alleged offenses here. I feel really bad, honestly, for Bungie. I love them. I will never not have, sympathy and, it's sentimental value for the company. We talked to them. They're freaking awesome guys, but this is just terrible timing. And it looks like it's going to impact the launch unless they have some huge miraculous recovery.
It's hard to separate the people that work for this company from the company itself, because when you say the name Bungie, a lot of people get very upset. We've had people talk to us and say they're mad at us because we interviewed Bungie. You know what I mean? Because they're you shouldn't be supporting this, everything that they've done and the way that they treat people. And it's dude, I kind of get what you're saying, but then you get people like Jared and Christine that we talk to at Bungie, and they're awesome dude, awesome people. And then you kind of go I don't know how you reconcile this, man. We talked about this. I am predicting that Marathon is going to be viewed as a huge blunder. I hope, legitimately, I do not wish for failure on them. I just don't understand, as a lifelong gamer and a fan of shooters, and this is this is my type of game, maybe not necessarily the extraction shooter, but it's I think so many people out there are just going extraction shooter? Maybe they can do it. Maybe they can make it the most approachable, fun extraction shooter that the world has ever seen and actually make extraction shooters a mainstream genre at that point. That would be great. I want a fun game to play. I just don't have faith, man. If there was an over-under to bet on this, I'm betting the under, man.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I can't speak to the actual gameplay. They are suffering outside of the quality of the game or our perceived quality of the game. It's gotten kind of lukewarm reception from the people who have demoed it. But I feel like the PR part of this could very easily be fixed. You figure out who it was that was wronged in this situation. You make fair compensation plus a little extra. You run a whole PR campaign about it. You double down on your values. You make sure this never happens again. You have provisions set aside for if some black swan incident happens, then this does happen again. And then you find charities or nonprofits or other causes that promote promote independent artists and protect their IP, and then you release a quality game. If the game isn't quality, that's a whole different story. Yeah. I would hope that Bungie would do the responsible thing, pull back, remove the bad art from the game, and wait to release it until they've got a banger of a game.
Yeah, I agree.
Or take it behind the barn and shoot it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right, guys, we're running out of time here, but we would be remiss because I know there's a lot of people out there that are but what about the consoles? Guys, what about the unveiling of the Xbox 360 where they didn't even talk about games? All they did was talk about how you can watch TV on it.
Approach.
What about the Virtua Boy with its head-mounted console that would burn holes into your retina because it was all red light lasers?
I still think that thing is cool, dude.
Yeah. What about the PlayStation 3 with its $599 price tag and no launch titles and things like that? So there are absolutely some major console blunders, but we want to talk about perhaps the biggest one out there. And that is the Wii U.
Oof.
Oh, more like the Wii Pew if we're gonna, yes. I've really been sitting on that one a long time,
God.
guys. So.
He's had that for
good.
years.
That was good. I'll give it to you. My whole life has led up to this moment.
We owned a Wii U. We were super amped for the Wii U motion controls and a new platform and all this stuff. And like, oh my goodness, what a disaster, dude.
What didn't you like about it specifically?
What didn't I like about it?
Yeah.
It was a potato.
Yeah, it was a potato. The games were terrible. Motion controls, go figure. That's not the best way to interact with games because, you know, these controllers were janky as anything. Do you remember when you had to buy the attachment that you could plug into the bottom of the Wii U remote that would make the motion controls even more sensitive? And so it was like, now it kind of works. You know, the only redeeming factor of the Wii U, the only one, is Wii U Bowling, which is a banger, dude. I can't tell you how many frames of Wii U Bowling I have played. But like, what's the premier Wii U title?
Well, Mario Galaxy 2, you know, I know we didn't review it favorably here, but there's a couple of good Zelda games on there. I should say a couple of highly rated Zelda games. You had Smash Brothers Brawl. I'm not a fan of that, but I mean, they had some big games on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's Nintendo, so they're always going to have, you know, their IPs to lean on, but dude, the Wii U was a disaster, dude.
Well, yeah, but this is again one of those, like, I feel like this is corporate responsibility stuff, and this is a perfect tie-in to the Switch 2 conversation, actually. Nintendo seems to have had, at least since the Nintendo 64, a track record of a big hit and a big miss, right? Like, yeah. I think people would argue that the N64, big hit by all measures. Oh, yeah. GameCube, I think you could argue that's a whiff, man, especially if you compare it to the other.
How dare you?
Well, okay, and there's a lot of people that like it. And then you had the Wii, smashing, groundbreaking success. You know, like that was a generation-defining console. And then you had the Wii U. And I think that for its merits, the Wii U had a lot of like really cool things about it, but it had terrible marketing. Like they had no idea how to communicate what this thing was to people. And I think it
had no identity.
Yeah. It's not even that it had no identity, it had the wrong identity. Yeah. When you're calling it the Wii U, people were expecting the Wii, and that's not what they got. Yeah. They got this like kind of portable, kind of not portable, kind of console like thing with motion controls that weren't super intuitive motion controls. And that's confusing. You know what I mean? Like, I think they created a lot of, I guess, innovation that they didn't really do anything with. They focused way too much on the hardware and not the software. And then one of the biggest concerns that we've all expressed with the Switch 2, and something that I think was like an early death marker of the Wii U, was that it had a super weak launch lineup. You have to release the console with a strong title, some anchor title to get people to buy. The console is nothing without the software. The software is everything. Absolutely. How many games have we talked about on this show where the graphics look like they could have been rendered by a potato, as Ryan would say, but it's just so fun that it doesn't matter. You know, like, I don't care what your system does if the game isn't fun. And unfortunately, the Wii U really sunk there. They, again, smashing success with the Switch. But I'm not sure that Nintendo has done the best job with the Switch 2 of communicating exactly why it is a generational lift from the first Switch.
Dude, what are you talking about? The controller can be a mouse.
Okay,
John,
but
that's what everybody's asking for.
Have you not seen the C button, John?
Okay.
Did you know that you can get on and talk with your friends?
Yeah, okay.
No, I know this is the point John's making, right? It's like you had like failure success. Failure success is like kind of the history of Nintendo. The Wii U failed so that the Switch could succeed, you know? And does that mean that the Switch 2 is going to fail? Probably not. It's sold out most places at this point. Like, there's a waiting list for pre-sales, which is a good thing, but we won't actually know. I'm sure I can't speak from a position of
authority here, but I'm willing to bet that pre-sale markers for the Wii U were pretty strong also. Switch 2 looks like it'll perform, but the companies that make these things, they actually make not a big margin on the console sales. Like they make most of their money on the games. Yeah. And
wasn't Nintendo losing money on their consoles for a little while? Am I thinking of the right one?
Oh, really?
I can't remember.
Most console companies, most companies that still operate primarily on console lose money or at least barely break even on their console sales. Like, this is probably TMI, but I used to work for Blockbuster and we sold, PlayStations, Xboxes, Nintendos, etc. And as a function of my job, I got to see what the margin was on these things because they calculated your employee discount on it. Oh. You never got a discount on the consoles because they made literally zero money. Blockbuster bought and sold them for the exact same price.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. I mean, but then you get people into your ecosystem and now they buy your games and that's how you make a fortune. So
right. Exactly.
Right. So, all right, guys, we are out of time. We just like talking video games and we can't keep things short.
It's the best.
So much for that Type 45.
Goodness, there's so many more blunders that we could talk about. Maybe we'll do a second episode, part 2 on this. Because, man, I know there's people that are like, guys, what about Avengers and Suicide Squad and these soulless live service games? What about Skull and Bones, quadruple A title, 10-year development cycle? That, Battlefront 2, that's in the news right now because people are really pushing for Battlefront 3. But the Battlefront 2 launch fiasco with the microtransactions was an absolute nightmare. We mentioned Lord of the Rings Gollum earlier, which
that one hurt me,
gosh.
Man. That hurt
man.
Me.
I mean, there's so many. Callisto Protocol, people that have been listening to the show for a while know that game made me rage harder than just about any game because I just wanted to play it and it stuttered like crazy.
I just want to play the game.
I mean, dude, I can't tell you how I was so mad, dude. So mad at Callisto Protocol. To this day, still have not played it, will not play it. Like, forget that game, dude. How do you launch your game in that state? Day
there's
one
about
patches.
There's about 10 Star Wars games you could throw into that conversation.
Dude, yeah,
too,
exactly. So I will say, I do feel like developers are learning a little bit. Like, I mean, maybe it's the optimist in me. Maybe it's just the 2024 and 2025 have been absolute bangers for video games so far. So we kind of we're a little, blind to these games releasing all buggy and stuff like that. But I would like to think that developers have learned their lessons and are like, look, we're going to delay our game. We're not going to just rely on the day one patch to fix everything because that initial first impression is really important. And wow, we better not tick everybody off because we're going to get review bombed and then we're not going to have any sales at that point. So maybe they're learning. I don't know. We'll hopefully find out. But
you can dream.
You know what? Let us know what you think the biggest gaming blunders are, because there are a lot of them out there. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're listening on Spotify, there is a comment section. We love the comments. We read all of them, so it's a great way to let us know what you think. If you would like to talk to us and 1,000 other gamers that are going to absolutely be talking about some of these blunders and ones that really affected them and things like that, join our community. There's a link in the episode description. Our Discord server is popping. It is incredible. It is filled with the most awesome gamers that exist on this planet, man. We say it all the time, but we would love to hear what you think. So come share your thoughts with us on our Discord server as well. If you love this podcast, you love what we do, think about supporting the show. There is a link in the episode description. It only takes a couple seconds to sign up. You'll get a shout out on the show. A big thank you from all of us, some Discord perks, and you get the joy of knowing that you're bringing video games to the world, people. So yeah, just ponder that for a second, But that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you on the next one. And until next time, happy gaming.
See ya.
Toodaloo.